Klaatu, Barada. What was the third word? It's an N word. I don't.
Necktie.
Hello.
Hello. We watched the third. No, actually, this isn't even Evil Dead. This is.
This is the third Evil Dead movie.
No,
but it's not called Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's called. What is it called?
Car
Medieval
Drive
Dead?
Die. No, medieval. That would be too smart.
Medieval Dead
Too
should have
smart.
been it.
Should have been Medieval Dead. That would have been hilarious. That would have been great. It's called Army of Darkness, which is a cool name.
Yeah, that's it. But they should have done like Evil Dead, ...
Right.
Army of
Yes.
Darkness. I don't know.
Yes. Evil Dead, Army of Dark. Medieval Dead, Army of Darkness would have been.
I still
ideal.
think Medieval Dead would have been clutch.
That
But
would have been awesome.
We're in an era, in a universe, where that didn't happen.
No.
So here we are.
Unfortunately.
But in this era, Bruce Campbell came back.
Well, before that, hello everyone. Welcome to Pop Corner, episode 16, I believe. We're watching the third and final Evil Dead movie. Well, final of the trilogy
Yeah,
with
the trilogy.
Bruce Campbell.
The
today.
Bruce Campbell trilogy.
Yes. So we started with Evil Dead Rise, and we're like, let's go watch the original. So we watched all three of these. We're going to save the Evil Dead remake or reboot, whatever it is, the 2013 movie.
We're gonna
save that for like Halloween time or something like that. Something separated enough to where we can...
Well, that movie's actually probably going to be kind of creepy,
Right,
you know. So we'll
right.
save that for the horror. I mean, sorry, Evil Dead fans, but the
It's
original
not.
trilogy's not scary.
There's nothing. Yeah.
It's so fun and funny though.
Yeah, but to go continue on with what you're saying, we watched Army of Darkness. It's a very interesting movie. You know, it sees the returning cast as far as Bruce Campbell, the only character that apparently matters.
Yeah, they rehashed the story again in this one in the beginning.
We once again get a rehashing of the first movie, along with the rehashing of the second movie, and they managed to once again cut out all of the supporting characters,
Yep. Besides the Linda.
besides Linda, who I think may have gotten recasted again. I may not. I might have to double check that one. She may be the same actress. I'm not for sure. But
Nonetheless, all the supporting characters from the first one still didn't show up again. And then when it rehashed the second movie, all the characters from the second one are just gone.
like,
Actually, that wouldn't work because Thanos only does half of them. They did like all of them. So
yeah, maybe Bruce Campbell needs to get, or like Ash, he needs to get a new hand that is the Infinity Gauntlet, and like he just snaps out all of his co-stars every time.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, by the end of this movie, the girl character actually lives.
Well, the girl from the last one did too. Oh no, she didn't.
She
No,
didn't.
she didn't.
Little,
That's right. I
Little
forgot.
hand.
Yeah, last second I forgot about that because I was like, I wonder how they're gonna.
Well, you know, maybe if it rehashed that part, you know, maybe.
yeah, well, I
maybe.
would have remembered. Good call. But
So going into this movie, we were interested.
No.
Because as you know, or maybe you don't know, but if you don't know, let me tell you, the first movie goes for the more horror-esque, or tries to anyway, be more a little horror-ish than your comedy, which is
Yes.
what the sequel and clearly this one does as well.
But the first movie, it found, I want to say, you know, I'm not privy to all of the in the time information, but it feels like it found its following based off of the comedic aspects of
yeah.
it. But it was more of laughing at it, not laughing with it.
Yeah.
You know
I mean,
what
there was still a few moments in there that were meant to be fun, like the shelves that had to be there
right.
for fun.
I agree.
Comedic effect. But I agree. I think that there was a lot more, like, people were laughing at it, and then they were like, oh, people actually love it when it's funny, so let's just turn that knob up.
Turn it up. Yeah.
So here we are. And I honestly thought that this one would have followed suit with the second one, where it would have went balls crazy and went with the comedic stuff and went all out with all the enemies.
This one reined it back a little bit.
You think so?
I think it went crazier in a lot of aspects, but it also, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's weird to me because, I mean, I don't know how we're going to structure this, but I do want to put out that the moment that, like, really shined as it was, like, honestly, it seemed kind of out of place. Still loved it, and it was fantastic. But the part where, like, the little mini ashes or him fighting in that, like, little
like that?
windmill, I love that. But it really shines as, like, a Evil Dead 2 section. because like the whole third movie, like the whole obviously Army of Darkness
Right.
stuff, you got the whole like medieval knights
Yeah,
and everything,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like there was still comedic stuff in there, but I feel like that whole section of like the windmill building was just
That was just a rehashing of 2.
it just
right? Because
reminds
it's
me of the hand. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
reminds me of so much of like Evil Dead 2 more than like this new movie did.
Yes.
But it still fit fine because like, dude, Evil Dead's so whack. Like you can't make something not out like not in place. It's just so whack.
I just don't even. Yeah. So while we're still kind of comparing to the previous 2 films, not so much considering Evil Dead Rise, but let's talk about the trilogy here for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What's your ranking now that we finished the trilogy? What are your 3? What order do you like the 3?
Even with this one included.
Yeah, like Evil Dead, the
original?
Evil Dead 2, and
And
then
3.
Army of Darkness.
I'm gonna be real with you. I think obviously we'll do ratings at the end and all, but I think
Right.
my like list of things right now probably, and maybe when we talk about it, it might change. But I think right now Evil Dead 2, this one, and then the original.
Okay.
I think it's my personal. I might change maybe.
So I agree with you at the bottom is
So you,
the
I
Evil
think
Dead.
this one's your favorite.
Dude, this is just
I knew it
what
would be.
This is
I
what
knew.
I wanted out of these movies.
Well, this is what I expected this movie to be like.
Perfect. I mean,
I
honestly,
think I just
love it.
like the cabin, like aesthetic. Like
See, to me, that felt so played out by the time we were done with the second movie.
yeah, but the first one just to me, I just
The first one ruined the second movie.
Nah, to me it was more so like, hey, the second one was like, we got a better budget. We're gonna do, the same concept again, but do it better.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like scrapped the first one. Sorry, any original Evil Dead fans.
Yeah, well, Evil Dead 1 was our first negative reaction. We had not only someone dislike the video, but they also unsubscribed.
I mean, you did rate it pretty low.
Yeah, because that movie was ass titties. Okay? I'm sorry, it wasn't good. Evil Dead 1 is not a good movie. Evil Dead 2.
He just lost another subscriber.
I don't care. I hope he came back. He's like, you know what? They tried Army of Darkness. Let's give him another shot. I hope he comes in. I hope you see that. You know what? Fuck you. All right? That's what I think. You
Ash's
unsubscribe to
hand
me.
be like.
Now, Evil Dead 2. There is genius in embracing and finding the fun. I really enjoyed that. Evil Dead 3, I think, I don't know. What I really enjoy about it was it felt like a true continuation of the second movie.
Yeah.
Where the first one, or like where Evil Dead 2 to Evil Dead 1 felt more like...
Like I said, the first and second one, it just felt like it was a retell.
It was like a
this
sequel,
one was
but a
definitely
retelling.
like a new story. It was set up. It was ready
Yes,
to go. I know what you mean.
And I loved it. I loved everything about that. I love the fish out of water,
Listen, man, you might be able to win me with this conversation,
Okay,
maybe. But
okay.
right now, my ranking is 2, this one, and then the original.
Okay, well,
think.
with that being said, I would like to start this probably in the best way possible. What didn't you vibe with as much in this movie that brought it down more than Evil Dead 2?
Well, the thing is like, it's funny because this one and Evil Dead 2 are pretty close. Like, it's not like I'm saying
Okay.
that this one's like a big downgrade.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think this one is almost, if not the exact same. So
Okay.
that's why I said you might be able to win me over, because I'm kind of like iffy. Like, they're both really good. And I don't know. I think it's just the aesthetic. I think I like the cabin
the
in
cabin.
the woods. I like the confined space versus this one where it was just. But what I do like about this one is like this one with like the evil of the bad Ash or evil Ash or whatever. That like after that was made, then he comes back and he like riseth the dead. Like there's a big bad here. Like obviously
like
you
that.
have the demon, right? Like you have
Right.
your deadite. But like this time, there's a physical thing that like
Right.
is constantly coming. Like the other ones, it just possesses people.
Right.
This one had the possession, but like there was a big bad guy, right?
Right.
Versus the other two that didn't have something like that.
Right. It definitely felt like this was like the final boss
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, which it was interesting because
Him
it was,
fixing his jaw.
I know. Yeah, final boss that was a little goofy, but with that being said, let me win you over. Okay.
Do it, brother.
Now, I would not so much like to continue, comparing the two movies as much because I feel like we could get lost in the weeds with that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about what I really like about this movie. First off, I think it's undeniable that the effects and the visuals of this movie are the best they've ever been.
So much better. Well, This one's a '90s movie, and wasn't the last one like still 80 something?
I think Evil Dead 2 was 87.
Yeah, and this was like '93 or something.
I'd have to double check it, but 91 or 93, I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a decent chunk of years there.
There is. But with that being said, I think there's way more environments, which speaks to a budget thing. Like there's definitely more. Like it doesn't feel restrained in any ways like that. You see a lot of environments. You see a lot of, effects that are still goofy. I have to say, honestly, the skeletons at the end, they didn't do it for me.
They were pretty wacky.
That was the why. The heavy emphasis on them, like so many of them.
Yeah.
If you ever notice the faraway shots where they couldn't fake a skeleton, like they did the skeleton when it was close up in the screen, right?
Yeah.
When they couldn't fake it from far away, you notice those are always the more fleshy ones. That looked cool. I wish they just wouldn't have done the skeletons.
You just wish they would have been like rotten, like
I would have, because the bad guy was that. I mean, a few skeletons here or there.
He was.
Well, yeah.
Then it got a little wacky.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
A few skeletons here or there, that's fine. But like overall, that was my biggest negative as far as the visuals go.
Listen, man, you didn't see your wire this time.
No wires. Let's see.
If you haven't watched our other podcast, in Evil Dead 2, right?
Yes, the guy that's hanging.
He's like floating as a deadite, and then you see the wire.
The wire hanging, yeah.
It's so funny.
But no, I think this is the best visually it's ever been. I'm not saying it's perfect. I mean, you've still got your obligatory like slow motion, like a zoom in of the arrow as it's flying through the air, which there's almost a charm to it.
I don't mind
but it's
it.
Definitely of an arrow.
Yeah.
And like it's definitely like, okay, whatever. But my favorite shot of this movie, little ashes coming out of the mirror. That was so awesome.
Well, it's funny because like when he throws the one piece down and it breaks, one piece is real. He said, what does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Weebs get it. Anyway, when he throws it down and it breaks, you see all the other pieces there, and like you can just tell if they're all just kind of like staring back at him, like the same picture, and you knew it wasn't like the right reflection.
That's not right.
And then they start popping out, and I'll have you know, this is our first time going through the trilogy, right? So we've never seen these movies,
right?
But I've played the Evil Dead game, so like I was telling him when we were watching it. There's a lot of things in the video game that obviously come from the movie, right? But it was just that extra joy that I get from seeing the things in the game actually come from the movie, right?
Right.
Like I was saying, the skeleton with the flute when they were coming in, they were playing the flute.
That was funny.
In the video game, if you put them down, they like boost the damage.
Buffs,
The guy with fixing his jaw, the evil bad Ash,
right.
That's the main boss of the Deadites. If you pick that team. It's just really interesting just to see. And same with like the mini ashes running around everywhere. They'll like jump at you if you open a supply crate and they trap it. It's cool.
See, you're saying all this and all these different things that are like obviously like immortalized within the fandom, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about this movie is that it introduces so much to like the demon lore.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, both. I know we've seen a lot of haunting stuff in the last two movies, especially like the inanimate objects in the cabin, right?
Yeah, But
now we see more of like Ash as being like possessed in this, and not how he was evil Ash in the last movie, or even the clone in this one, but more so in the sense that like these little guys, or like the hand in the last movie. That's a good example, but like the little guys coming out, like that that's just inanimate objects that appeared as like. Haunting of him.
Yeah, and then being able to puppet that.
Right. That is just so cool.
Yeah, love it.
Like I love.
I think the hand. Like I think the hand and then the little ashes are my favorite parts of all this franchise.
Yeah, no,
they're so cool.
And that had to have been a pure reference to Gulliver's Travels, where they tie him down and like the little people. You know what I mean? Do you ever read that in school? Yeah. Oh, classic. Whatever.
He just dives in his mouth.
Yeah, and then he pours scalding.
Yeah. He said, "How about some hot chocolate?"
Can we admit the fact that just would not have flown?
Yeah,
I would have cried. I would have been done for the movie. I would have been out. And then immediately after that, you've got that's another cool effect. It was fucking gross. But we had the eye popping out of the shoulder, the Resident Evil
becoming
eye.
Resident Evil Birkin from Resident Evil 2.
Birkin. William, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the name, but I was like...
Voiced by the same guy who did Frank West in Dead Rising.
Oh my gosh. But those effects They're weird. They're cool. I really loved how they did their cloning, basically their asexual reproduction.
Yeah, they just like detach, and then I just
Yes.
love how they're just sitting there. He's like, "Are you me?" And he's like, "Goody two shoe."
That was cool. I wish we would have seen more of the two of them.
Yeah, before he gets messed up.
Yes, and I wish they would have made it clear that that was like the big bad. I mean, I know it was clear because that's who.
Yeah,
rises.
that's the one that rises.
Right,
Yeah, he's like, "I'm
But-
alive again."
Yeah, but no, what I wish they would it would have been clear in that moment that he was like when he was like, oh, I'm good, you're bad. It just seemed like another like trickery of the mind almost.
Yo, what if? Hear me out, mind blown. What if the Pat Ash took over Good Ash's spot, and Good Ash was the one that got shot in the face, and then Good Ash came back to steal the book to go, get sent back home. That's why he was after the book.
And that's why stuff still exists by the time it's 2023.
The real Ash is dead. He was the real villain all along.
Crazy. That would be actually wild. But
Dude,
technically, there's a few loopholes there. I
I
think.
love the end of this movie.
Well, see, that's the only clip I'd ever seen of this movie.
Really?
So I was like, oh yeah, they probably time hop in this movie. I was thinking different eras.
See, I never seen that, and this whole time I'm like, I'm curious how it ends, because obviously this is the end of the Bruce Campbell trilogy.
Yes.
Because after this, there's no more Bruce Campbell.
Which he's still pretty involved on. I mean, he executive produced on Rise.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what role.
Listen, he said that he'd be down to come back, and I would love to see him come back for a movie.
I would love it.
Like I said, the thing I tagged you on, where it would have all three of the final.
Which I'm still curious to see how
would that work?
2013 works out,
Yeah.
because I would like to watch that. And then
Just imagine though, because one of I was
But
gonna say
Beth-
one of our like biggest complaints of this franchise is like secondary characters are trash.
yeah,
To be real honest, like none of them matter anyway.
at least the original trilogy.
Yeah. So like it'd be cool to see all three of them. Then you're like, oh cool, I love all three of these characters, instead of just like Ash. We'll have Ash,
it
and then
would
we'll
be
have Beth,
interesting.
and I imagine the other girl in 2013 is
You know-
probably awesome too.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It'd be interesting to see how they would do it, but okay.
My thing is, here's my thing. Evil Dead Rise featured, almost its comedy was almost similar to that of the original movie,
Yeah, but
where it was very like off the cuff, just
yeah, it was subtle.
like it was subtle,
It wasn't your goofy set pieces.
right? So I would love to see how that kind of character we imagine Rise with Beth,
Yeah.
and then her interactions with Ash.
Ash.
Like I just can't imagine that. I would love to. But I
Hey,
can't.
it'd be hilarious though if they could figure out how to do it. It'd be so funny.
Oh my gosh, I'm there day one. Whatever the next Evil Dead movie, Rise has proven that I'm gonna be there.
This is not Boomstick.
Yeah, like I'm really interested. But back to Army of Darkness,
Yeah, there ain't no Evil Dead here. It's just Army of Darkness.
Medieval Dead, as I'm taking to call it. So, visuals quite good.
Yeah, I actually like right from the get go. I like even just noticing the lighting. The lighting was so much better.
Oh, yeah.
And just like the visuals itself,
Like the
I agree.
composition
Yeah,
in certain shots.
everything was just so much better.
They had a few of their almost looking stop motion scenes that we've seen in previous movies.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't anywhere near as egregious. Didn't look as bad. The only one that, once again, I didn't like was in the final battle with the final boss. Not my favorite, where he went skeleton.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't, again, just didn't work for me. I don't know. Like visuals, fine. Lighting, as you said,
Yeah, lighting was great.
great. The story itself, I think it's simple. I mean, it's set up pretty well in the first movie, or in the last movie,
Yeah,
in the
last
sense
movie.
that he's back and he needs to get back, right? That we knew that motivation going in. He states it pretty quickly. And then you get, like, there's a few people that are like, oh, he's prophesized. All this and that. And then it kind of tugs on the strings of that prophecy throughout the movie just a little bit. And then I think we get the real hero's journey here in the sense of, like, he sets out with a mission. It may not be exactly as he planned it, but then eventually he comes around and becomes the true hero of all of these people.
Yeah.
Whether they like it or not. And my favorite scene, the funniest scene in this movie, in my opinion,
Okay.
he gives us a great speech. He goes, "Are you with me?" Silence.
Yeah, all of them are just like,
And it's not played like, "Oh wow, I really didn't think it would." It wasn't like a Marvel like, that went better in my head, or like anything like
Well, it's
that.
so funny because all the crowd. I mean, eventually they obviously
They
are
do,
yeah.
but, like-
but it's funny for like the full like 20 seconds. They're just kind of like looking down at the
Yeah, they're
ground.
like, don't look at us, please.
It's so funny.
Is it bad? I expected him to shoot one.
All right, now who's with me?
Right.
We got Arthur over here, the best character.
Arthur Morgan.
Wait a minute.
Oh well.
How'd that guy live? He got like shot like 3 arrows.
Yeah, I really thought he
Because
was
you were
gonna-
like, oh, he's done for.
I was like,
already.
he's done. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way. Like, that's how they're gonna make this guy seem, the bad guy seem like a badass. Is he's gonna kill someone that we know?
I mean, he was killing like all the extras. But...
Yeah, a little extra. Yeah, again, side characters. Am I right?
But again, like even the side characters in this movie, they're just like if they die, like whatever. Like that's the thing about these movies, I think, is like other than Ash, like if any of them die, I'm like ah.
Yeah, I would have been. Yeah, I think I was kind of like upset that the girl got turned bad. I didn't think she was gonna live.
Really?
Yeah.
Honestly, same though, because all the other girls have all
Yeah,
just
I mean, I was like,
perished.
this bitch dead. You know what I mean? But she lived, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's cool. And then I was like, it'd be cool if he like took her to the future with him, but it didn't happen.
Hey, he
Felt like they
got
had
he got
chemistry.
that he got that babe at the supermarket.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Blah,
Who?
blah.
Fun fact: I'm almost like 99% sure that's the mom from Home Alone. At the supermarket.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you know that.
I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm like, I'm actually. It might not be. Era time frame. I don't even know if that makes sense. It looks like her though, from what I remember. I have to look it up now, or else I'm going to be wrong.
What a bot.
Continue with the conversation, please.
Oh, this motherfucker. Alrighty, so this movie, right?
This movie.
This movie is indeed a movie. Like I said, my favorite part is still gonna always forever be the part in the windmill because it was just so good. The little ashes, man. Perfecto. You still looking?
Yeah.
This man.
I'm sorry. Oh my God! Look up the cast of Home Alone. You're gonna get jump scared. Jump scared.
Jump scared by a deadite.
That's gotta be her, right? Catherine O'Hara. Okay, let's just look up
Why?
Army. Oh, this ain't looking good. Army of the Dead. Army of.
Yeah, it ain't looking too good for you.
Army of
Not even
Darkness.
showing up on the search.
Oh no.
Nope, he misspoke. He's wrong. He's a
Oh
failure. Or I'm at
no.
the stake. He's a failure.
They. I tell you what. Yes, she was much older than that by the time this movie came out. That woman and her, they could play younger and older sisters at the time, though. Let me tell you. I'm thinking. I said fun fact with my full face out there. Okay, not so fun fact. The lady at the end of Army of Darkness and the lady in Home Alone,
Not the same person.
not the same lady.
Literally. Never listen to this guy. He's just.
Don't listen to me. I mean, don't unsubscribe. Guy who came back.
Oh, he's
Hypothetically,
on
he's gone.
Yeah,
He's-
as soon as you trashed Evil Dead 1, he was out.
Evil Dead 1 sucks. Evil Dead 2 is watchable, and Evil Dead 3 is called Army of Darkness, and you need to know that because it's amazing. I think this movie has a clear plot that isn't just surviving. I think there's a
Yeah,
goal.
there was a different thing.
There's
there.
a goal. I think there's something to root for in that. I think my favorite aspect of this movie overall is the fish out of water, as I already mentioned. You know, modern man and medieval times. Come on, and the fact that he uses it to his full extent, like the car, the boomstick,
Yeah, I did
the
like something about the
chainsaw,
car.
everything about it is just great. I'm just surprised the car started in this movie.
Yeah. I say they used
And
it
he-
and like
he-
turned it into like a chopping machine.
Yeah, in the last movies, he couldn't even get it started half the time. But apparently, he knows so much about cars that he can get that thing going.
Oh yeah, he's cracked. He's a mechanic.
Apparently.
Yeah, no, honestly though, like I love me some character development, but you got like how wild it is to see the first movie Ash to this movie Ash. How makes and it's only in a span of 3 days.
Honestly, two to three is believable.
Yeah, but like
1 to 2?
What? It makes no sense.
What in the world?
Ash is just in the background, falling over everything, hitting all the shelves. And then on all these ones, he's just like, "This is my boomstick."
You know what? I mean, I think the best explanation in that lies with when he's possessed at the beginning of the second movie, or well, technically at the end of the first.
Yeah.
Maybe that just brought out the animalistic killer in him.
You trying to save the first movie? I thought you didn't like the first movie.
I don't. No, I don't. I'm just saying, like, at the end of the first movie, he was at least defending himself at the very end.
I was gonna say.
And then he gets enough to live, and then, he gets possessed, and then he's, cutting his hand off and putting chainsaws on it. The chainsaw catch in this movie, oh my god!
I knew it was coming.
Oh my god, so awesome!
As soon as he threw it down, I'm like, oh, this man's gonna like jump up. It's gonna be like, boop.
That's so good. And then the whole fight down in the pits, like, my basis for any good media is when I think this could be a great video game. And I mean that as someone who mainly talks about video games on this channel, like 100%. Like, I look at that and I'm like, okay, this is a boss arena. That's what this is.
Yeah.
This is so cool. And then, or like later on with the fight at the end, I'm just like, yes. Or like the cemetery, all these different moments, of course. But like, where the other games would have been like some indie horror game that was just kind of goofy and, you get your mostly positive on Steam.
You're mostly, he said this one would be an overwhelmingly positive.
This is an overwhelmingly positive action game, and I love it through and through. And I just don't know how else to say it. Like, I really enjoy this movie. Like, the visuals improved, the effects overall way better. The story is there.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, like, and there's stakes to it. Like, Ash wants to get back. It's not just, hey, I want to live and survive until morning.
Yeah, he's done with it. He wants to go back.
Yeah, there are clear stakes. There's character development in this movie alone. Like, if you just look at Ash at the beginning, he's just out for himself.
Then
by the end, he's like,
yeah.
And, like, I think it's got a nice, like, I don't want to say message. It's not message because it's not like, oh, yeah, just don't be selfish or whatever. No, like, I mean, ultimately, I just think this movie's good. I think it's got everything you'd want in a movie. It's got except for horror.
Yeah.
Because you do come to the idea of horror, but honestly, not one of them's been scary. I don't think that's something we should have expected by this point. And I didn't expect it by this point.
I didn't expect it. Like I said, I expected the second Evil Dead, but double it. I was like double on the comedy, double on the wackiness, double on the stupidity of Bruce Campbell. That's what I signed up for.
Yeah, I mean, we even still got the physical brutality of Bruce Campbell all the time. He was beaten the shit out of by children in the beginning.
Yeah.
He was beaten the crap out of by deadites throughout the film. Anything. And it happened to him.
Yep.
And I really just, I rest my case. I think this movie is really good in that sense. I do have negatives. I have some shoddy visuals here and there, but it is way more consistent throughout this one.
Yeah, I understand.
And I just, I think I've done the best that I can. A better story, better visuals. Pacing, I even think, was pretty solid. I mean, it felt like it was, pretty quick, but the movie's pretty quick.
Yeah, I was going to say it was not even an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean...
And like the first 10 minutes is rehashing.
Yeah, I mean, so I was just like, this movie, it feels brisk, but it feels like a lot happens in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's good. I mean, I don't think there's a true overwhelming negative to this movie unless you went into it expecting a horror movie, which I don't believe we did. So...
Nor I don't think anyone did.
No, I don't. No, definitely not.
When you think of Evil Dead, you know what you signed up for.
Right.
At this point.
Yeah, I agree.
At least for the original trilogy.
Nope, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Like I said, Rise I feel like is a different vibe and tone and a whole different story. And the reboot of 13, I don't know. But we'll find out eventually.
Yeah, we will. So, I have to ask, anything at all? Am I doing anything for you?
I don't know. It's still so close because like I love the second one's vibe. I love the more like nothing will ever be better in this franchise so far than just Ash in the cabin just laughing along with all the objects.
I think back to that and I'm like, okay, I really like that and I really liked watching that, but it feels like outside of this franchise it would be a step too far. Where this movie never feels like it went too far with anything. So that's why when I mentioned earlier that I feel like it reined it in a little bit, it reeled it back.
Yeah,
just a bit.
It wasn't.
That's what I mean by that. Like there was crazy stuff in it, like drinking boiling water
But it wasn't as wacky
and like the crazy stuff that's happening to him. The little guy stabbing him in the ass and all this different stuff. Like there's crazy stuff.
He goes to step on the little one and then like
they put the nail.
The nail.
Like yeah, there's crazy stuff happening in this movie, and it's all throughout. I mean, him slapping guys, get the fuck out of my face, all this stuff. Like it's there, but it's way more believable. As much as you can believe somebody getting transported back in time. Then just guy like I'm completely losing it. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I understand the appeal of it. I really do. That's
I know
funny scene.
Like I said, I know what you mean. Like all the like stupid, wacky stuff that the second one does is in the third one here, but it's a little tuned back to where it's not over the top and like.
Let me say it to you this way. Maybe this makes more sense as to how I'm feeling because I think I finally am able to articulate it. Okay, due to it being way more consistently humored throughout. Rather than like the ups and downs of like the the action and then the zaniness of the previous movie, or even just like the not so comedy focused parts. Mm-hmm. This movie throughout it, whether it be one-liners or the like, is more consistently it's not jarring, it's not a whiplash of any means of like, oh, we've got a scene of everyone laughing and then we've got scenes where characters are fighting each other, and I don't know. I just think it gels better all through.
I was going to say, to build on that, or at least if this is kind of what you're thinking, but a thing that I think this movie does a lot better than the second one, and way more than the first one, is that, so like you were saying, how like it kind of flows better, right?
Yeah.
So the second one and this one, the thing that I noticed the most is that like this one is, like you were saying, consistent, and it's consistently funny, and it's consistently action-packed, consistently something going on.
Yes.
So when you think of the second one and the first one a lot, especially the first one, but the second one did this a lot too, is like you would have that funny scene, right? You'd have like him doing that with all the objects, or you'd have the hand scene. Right. But then there'd be like 5 to 10 minutes like right after where they're just kind of like standing around.
Yeah.
And doing nothing, right? So they're just like standing around like all quiet like and just looking around, trying to build suspense, I would imagine, but like...
Again, this movie frees itself from the shackles of being a horror movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's like, I don't know, I think it flowed better too because of the fact that there wasn't a lot of downtime. There wasn't a lot of just sitting around, like looking around, trying to build suspense and this, that, here, and this, and that. And then you're like, haha, crazy off the wall scene for 5 to 10 minutes. And then after that, you're like back to doing nothing again for 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. This movie, I feel like, is constantly, you either got some plot narrative going on, or you have characters interacting all the time to where like it's natural rather than like, Ash being in the cellar and then those guys being like, don't let him out. And then after the thing comes up, he's like, let me out. They're like, let him out. Right. Like there's actually conversations going between the characters. Right. And it's still not enough for me to really care that much about the side characters too much. I would say that I like the side characters in this one. Yes.
Best attempt.
I agree that this movie has the best side characters out of the other ones. But even then, if they died, it wouldn't have fazed me. I'm just like, listen, I'm here for Ash, and that's it. But my favorite parts of this movie is when Ash is off by himself. Like when he's in the windmill tower and like when he's in the cemetery getting the books. Like, I don't know, there's just something... And then especially when Ash versus Ash, I really like those scenes clashing.
That was nice.
And I don't know, I just feel like... And I think it has to do with the side characters always just being kind of being set to the sideline. Like, yeah, they're side characters... But I feel like they could have done them a little bit better.
These movies could benefit from an ensemble cast. Yeah. Rather than, which it is, not really. It's main protagonist focused with Ash. Mm-hmm. But I think an ensemble cast would work a lot better. And I don't know.
Like I said, this is obviously about the third one here, but Evil Dead Rise did a really good job at making me like all the characters.
Yes.
So that's something that I would love to see Bruce Campbell come back in and have Ash be there, and then also have other characters
to care about.
Yeah,
right.
It would be fun because then you'd be able to go along with your legendary Ash, but also be able to be like, oh man, I care about these other characters too, though. So like, it'd be fun to see characters you care about clash with Ash. And it'd be fun to see who comes out on top, who's living.
Oh, absolutely.
Who's the baddest of the baddest. That's why I would love a collab with all 3 of the final people here.
Here's my... Honestly, and I'm going to voice this as my big... Actually, let's save potential sequel talk for the end because I feel like we can go on a tangent. So if we have some extra time at the end, let's do that. But let's see, how far are we? We're a little over 35 minutes. Yeah, about half hour. So negatives
Okay.
of this movie. Do you have any? I know I already asked you if there's anything that really separates it from 2 being lesser, but do you have any negatives other than visuals that we talked about that you did want to mention?
Negatives?
Yeah, just for review's sake. Anything?
Well, like I said, it all just comes back to like the aesthetic, I guess. Like I really do like the medieval stuff and all that jazz.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, I don't like it. You know, like it's weird. I know you're super into that, right? So like I knew you would love it. You're really into the medieval video games and medieval stuff.
Honestly, the medieval like the knights and stuff. I didn't care. It didn't do anything for me. But I just loved the idea of there being no like weapons, like modern firepower.
Yeah,
kind of stuff, other than him.
Yeah, with his boomstick.
Right.
Yeah, I love that too as well. But I don't know. It's just something about like seeing. I don't know. I'm just always this way when it comes to video games, movies, TV shows. I don't like desert. So like there are a lot of like your sand and stuff, and I don't know why, but it's just a big turnoff for me. But it's not like for movies, it's not that big of a deal really. It's usually video games where I'm like, ugh.
Well, you get plenty of other stuff in this too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Get,
it's
like,
fine. It's not. Yeah.
Not so much a swamp, but like.
But I think that's why I really like the scenes that I said a lot more is because they're not in that like deserted desert night-ish area.
Right.
It's more so like in those parts like at the windmill, there's like, you're in a building, you're when he's in the woods and stuff fighting badass,
Right.
I really like the atmosphere of those scenes versus your barren wasteland with the knights everywhere. But like I said, it's weird because like I'm split 50-50 with the night stuff. Because like on one hand, I kind of dig it. I like the whole him going back in the past and then like confronting with all these people that are trying to kill him and don't trust him. And then they start to come around to him. But even then, like they're complete different people compared to him. So it's funny to see their language with his language from the modern era.
Yeah.
Modern at the time. But then it makes it a huge comical ordeal with the two clashing. But at the same time, I don't know. It makes me wonder like, what else could they have done if they didn't do the night stuff, right? But
well,
I don't know.
To me personally,
it's weird.
I think the idea of these books being able to teleport through time.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For timeline wise, imagine if we get one in the far future. And like these books,
get it like Jason-esque movie,
right?
Jason X.
These say these books have been preserved in some all told dystopian library, and they haven't been opened for centuries because obviously they've all been locked away under restricted access forever. Collected by some fascist government or something.
And then an earthquake happens at a bank.
At a bank, yes.
And
then there's like infinite possibilities in the sense of like anything could happen, or you could just have plenty of sides. I don't know what the tie-in is with the other books, or Evil Dead 2013 is. Do we get any closure on what book is what? We're clear that he burned the first book.
Yeah.
In the original timeline.
Who knows?
But then he goes back in time, and then now that's the current timeline again. I would assume he goes back to his time.
And the book's still alive in this end of this because he just teleports. So the book is still at the Knights.
Right.
With the Knights.
It makes you wonder what exactly. I don't know how to explain the timeline in that sense, but it makes you wonder where they could go
from here. But it's interesting though because it's one of those things that I feel like we'll never know because we've just moved on from this trilogy.
No, and we've got the series. I don't know. Do you plan on watching the series?
I want to.
Yeah.
But
we won't. We probably won't do it for this, but that might be something I just pick up on my own time.
But even then, maybe it references, but at least I've only ever seen the opening up to the credits,
right?
Or it rolls the credits for the series,
right?
And it never really mentions anything for the movies, but then again, that was the first 2 minutes, and then it opens, and that's all I saw,
right?
But it would be interesting if that was canon to the movies too, it references all the movies and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would just have to imagine they wouldn't do anything too drastic in just the TV show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm curious. Infinite possibilities. There's 3 books. Many different places in time they could be. They could be in many different places of the world.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. I think that's the cool variable of this franchise. You've got the comedy side. You've got the strictly horror side.
Mm-hmm.
You could do anything. But I think my favorite aspect of Army of Darkness, as we, we talk about it here, is that I think it finds probably the best blend of the comedy aspect. As we've talked about, it's got the no lows or too high of highs. It's just got
it's constant.
consistent through rate of good quality. And I think like Ash is probably the most relatable he's ever been. Not because he's crazy, high octane all the time, but rather because he's dumb. Like, he's always been dumb. But in this movie, he's just dumb in the sense that, like, what was the last word? He's vain. You shut up, simpleton of the 1300s. I don't need to remember your magic words.
Yeah.
What word was it again?
Yeah, what was that word?
Nickel? No.
So funny.
And then when he sneezed, that's hilarious.
No.
Like, this movie is well written.
Coughs. He starts saying, he says the first two words and he goes, and he's like,
yeah.
And he's like, I said it. He points up at like the sky.
I said your words.
I said your words.
Where Evil Dead 2 was very much embracing the comedy, it definitely relied on the physical or at least the acting comedy rather than any jokes actually being said or written. But this movie had both, and
and it blended well actually.
Yes, and I think I don't know how else to say it. I think this movie is really good. I think there's just parts of it that tried to be, which is a big issue in the 90s and early 2000s, the effects. Some of them probably looked amazing for their time, aged like milk.
Yeah.
Like the skeletons, stuff like that. And that's clear as day, but I don't know.
I mean, for that type of stuff, though, it doesn't even really bother me. It's like, it's a movie and it's time. I don't care too much about that.
No. I'm just saying, as viewing now, if there's anything that stands out to me, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. And because I think...
For, a new viewer or something, that, yeah. I agree.
Okay. Well, with that being said, you want to do our verdicts, and then we'll do a little extra talking at the end about our... We could pitch a sequel.
Pitch a sequel?
You want to pitch a sequel to end out our trilogy talk?
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
So, would you like to go first on this and have time to think, or vice versa?
I think I can go.
Okay. All right. Let's hear it, because I've been kind of leading this.
Yeah,
so
I know.
You can do this, and then
I'll
hear what you've decided.
We're doing another video afterwards, and I feel like I'm going to be leading that one, so I'm kind of letting you lead this.
Yes.
So, here we are. The end where you read, where you wait and see what our reviews are. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is very, very, very close to the second one. I really like the second movie, Evil Dead 2, and I really like this movie. It's funny because, as I said before, the night stuff, with all the knights and the medieval things, it's weird because, I'm split. On one hand, I like it. On the other hand, I don't like it. So I'm like Ash. One hand that I have, I love it. And the other hand I don't have, so I don't like it with this hand. You know what I'm saying?
Fair.
So, I'm sorry. That was so terrible.
Listen, you went for it. I'll give you props.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I really like how this one was set, though. Set in stone. They had an idea, and they went with it, The sequel obviously ended in a way that you knew that this medieval era thing, that was happening if we had another movie.
Right.
And that's what we got. We got medieval Ash fighting the Deadites. And that's where we get the Deadite word to come from, where we get knowledge on the demons. Like you were saying earlier, I think this movie really has a high up, too, because of explaining Deadites more and explaining the books a little bit more rather than the other ones where the book was just kind of like a second thought. The book is the reason, but you don't know nothing about the demons. You don't even know what they're called. You don't know they're called Deadites yet.
Right.
It takes 3 movies before you get that.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. But I really have to give it props for explaining that a little bit more. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not set in stone and tells you everything about the Deadites and all that. But like I said, there's that age question where we're like, is the Deadite in each book the same? Are they different Deadites? Or is it the same? That type of stuff isn't set in stone. But that's fine, keep that up for interpretation.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
And, like we were talking about, there's a lot of comedy here that was your acted out comedic effect.
Right.
And then your
physical
jokes.
comedy.
Yeah, physical and then your jokes. That's something that the other movies didn't really have. I mean, the second one had a lot of the, physical comedy, but it didn't have any of the jokes.
Right.
And I don't know. It's funny because like physical comedy, I feel like isn't as funny as joke comedy to me. But Bruce he's a legend at it. He does so good at the physical comedy.
Fantastic.
Man. He's awesome.
Talking about underrated actors of which I didn't really know caliber before, and I know Evil Dead's probably what he's most known for.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, it's there. Physical comedy.
Yeah, he's there. He's got you. Like, if you need someone to be funny with physical comedy.
He's got a great voice, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when he gets all serious.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he sounds so good.
Sounds groovy.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of positives here. And really, the only negatives I can think of is just, like, the vibe of it, the aesthetic. I can't decide. Like, there's some parts of the aesthetic that I like of this movie more. But there are some aesthetics that are lost that aren't in the cabin woods area anymore and confined. And I know you said you prefer this one more.
Well,
but
to push back, there's a reason why. I for a lot of aspects, I love a narrowed down scope and scale of a story, like that confined nature. I understand exactly what you're saying, and in a normal instance, I would prefer it. Mm-hmm. Where I think it benefits here is that it's a new environment.
Yeah,
that one is retreading the same of the old.
Yeah,
and that just wore me down.
I agree.
So
I think also the reason why this new one, with it not being a confined space, worked pretty well is because we're not really in a horror movie.
No, yeah.
You know, if we were still trying to be super scary, spoopy, I don't think this would have worked. Right. This atmosphere, this medieval stuff, I don't think it would have worked very well if we were trying to keep a horror, creepy vibe.
Right.
But we weren't going for that. We were going for your Evil Dead fun, and that's what you got.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And though I had, it's funny because, like, I don't have a lot of negatives for this movie other than the, like, setting stuff. Like, it was shot a lot better. I think that the effects, even though have some aged like milk, I think that they are better than ever compared to the last two.
All right.
And I think just graphically, if you want to say that for a movie, looks a lot better as far as your color, your brightness, just the way everything looks more crisp.
Right.
Everything looks a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, dude? I'm gonna match it. 7.5. I'm giving this one a 7.5, and that's what I gave you Evil Dead 2, a 7.5.
That's fair. I mean,
I really enjoy both of these movies, and it's so funny because the first one I was like, it's okay. Like, I know you don't like the first movie. The first movie to me was okay. It was all right, whatever. Watched it once. I'm like, I probably won't ever watch it again.
I'll never watch the first one again.
The second one, loved it so much more than the first one. It's so funny, and I'm like, man, I love this movie, and I'm like, I might watch it again. And then we come into this movie, and I'm like, you know what? I loved it. I might watch this again. But I think the difference is like all three of these movies, though they're tied together, they're all three like different movies entirely.
Yeah, very different.
Like, you could literally, if it wasn't for Bruce Campbell and like the book like connection, you could literally just name these different movies. Just slap a new demon, whatever.
All completely different feel, yeah.
But I think that's what I like about this franchise is it keeps you guessing, and like it's so wild that like nothing ever seems out of place.
Right.
Even when something goes off the rails that you wouldn't really expect it when watching like the first movie into the second or second into the third, it fits. It's like cool.
I agree.
And that's kind of where I stand. Like, I think this franchise is really solid, and I understand why this is such a big side. Like, when you think of your horror B film flicks, I understand why this is one of the most popular films in that category.
Right.
And I'm there with you.
So far, I've like 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've got one more to watch. So
I feel like the 2013 reboot is going to be a lot like the first one. Not the first one, but the
Rise.
Because I've listened to other reviews. I don't listen to our reviews. We suck. But I listen to other reviewers that are actually good at doing what they do. And I just like listened to like a brief summary of like the 2013 one. Not like really plot wise, but like people when they were comparing it to Rise, right? They were comparing those two movies.
Okay.
And it's weird because people were saying that Rise like held back on the gore and like it being like, they were saying that the 2013 was grosser and like way more like brutal. Well, and that has me interested.
I am very interested in that, but honestly, compared to Army of Darkness, or maybe not so much 2, I think Rise competes.
What do you mean?
Like gore wise.
Oh yeah, I think Rise has the most gore out of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, especially
What I'm saying is the
spoiler.
2013 reboot, like, apparently is way more gory than the Rise movie,
Interesting.
which is what I'm interested about.
Yeah,
Because like Rise, even in some scenes, as me as a huge horror fan, had me like, whoa.
yeah. Go check out our review for that if you'd like to. It's a non-spoiler review.
Yeah.
But no.
Let's hear yours though.
Mine.
I'm curious.
So I'll keep it short. I'll keep it quick. I think the pacing of this movie, great. It's a quick movie. Feels like a quick movie. Feels like a lot happens though. With that being said, you're seeing a lot of different environments. You definitely feel unrestrained from any budgetary things that could have been in the previous. The only time where I feel the movie is limited is, once again, not by a budget, but rather by the technology of the time. You know, you've got certain visuals that look a little goofy. You've got, you know, the skeleton, claymation, kind of stop motion stuff. Doesn't look quite right. But otherwise, I think the practical effects, the computer effects, otherwise, all look really good. I think this movie's super enjoyable. I think the plot, as I mentioned, it moves at a good pace, but I also believe that there's something to actually root for and to look towards as he moves towards the Book of the Dead, to go back to the future, and then eventually to save the new kingdom of the two joined together. And even that's like a feel-good movie, the moment those two kingdoms come together. Something I didn't mention, outside of visuals, the only thing that I think they could have held on to longer that I didn't like was when they sent for the Red Army, right, at the end, and they come in to help.
Yeah. There was like no confrontation at all, like, for them actually, like.
They didn't even roll up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they did roll up. They showed them, but they didn't even show them coming into combat to really help that much. But
Yeah, it just showed them rolling, and then they just won the fight.
yeah. But my issue was, Ash says, "Oh well, we don't have enough men. We'll send for them to come and help us." That's great and all, but what if they said no?
No.
But no, and I don't even mean it like, oh, we needed to see that like messenger go or whatever. No, I would have liked to have been like a thing where we didn't think anybody was going to come. They're about to lose. That's when they come in. And it's a nice moment, not just like, oh look, it's the Reds.
Like maybe like Ash is losing to Bad Ash, like he's getting ready to die, and then you just see an arrow come flying in, and then it's like them riding in, right?
Absolutely,
that would have been cool.
It could have been way more built up in that sense, and that's just a minor criticism because
Honestly,
in the end it worked out.
Instead of that for Ash, though, I think it would have been better for Arthur, because Arthur and him are like
they could have helped him. Yeah,
I think that would have been cool.
That would have been really cool. So revisionist history, if we could have went back and changed anything about a film that we had no hand in, that would be something that I would change if I could.
I agree.
And I don't think it would take that much. I mean, just be like a couple seconds of scenes here and there, changing some dialogue and waiting for timing of the arrival of the army. But, outside of those two minor things, visuals for me personally are a little more like off-putting while viewing, but I can, as we talked about, look past as product of their time.
Yeah.
So,
always.
With that being said, I don't even remember off the top of my head what I think I gave it a 7.
Yep. I gave
7.5.
7.5, yeah.
I gave Evil Dead 2 a 7. I gave the first movie a 4.5. I think this movie is wholeheartedly an 8.
Nice.
As I've already mentioned, there's probably very rare, if any, chance that I'm ever going to give a movie a 10 out of 10. That's just like the knocks my socks off, right?
Yeah.
That's top of the line. That's like, I didn't expect it to be this good. 9 is absolutely no issues, which, as I said, as I can nitpick, there's small things here and there that I would pick out and be like, okay, I wish that could have been just a little better. And that's where this movie sits, next best to having those minor nitpicks. 8. And I think that's reasonable. I could probably say, oh, it's an 8.5, it was of its time, blah, blah, blah. No, I think this movie's just an 8. I don't think it does anything that screams I need to be as close to perfection as possible. But I think it's a really good movie, and it does everything it sets out to do.
It's just one of those movies that, like, you came here for a fun time, and you
come
out. Yeah, you come out with a fun time. Like, that's just... And those type of movies are always legendary. If you're wanting to watch something that's fun, if you find that movie, and this is one of them, that's good.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. So 8.5 and 8.
Yep. No,
that's
7.5.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's right. I went higher.
Yeah, you went higher. Because I rated both Evil Dead 2 and this one 7.5.
Yeah. I'm just used to you going higher than me.
Yeah. they're just both so. I like both of them for different reasons, and they're just equal to me. So
That's fair. I can respect that. So you
but
say
I don't judge an 8 because I'm kind of close with both of them to an 8 anyway. So
that's fair. I completely respect that. So with that being said,
okay.
movie pitch. If you were to pitch the way to move forward from Rise, where would you go from here?
Oh, like from the Rise movie, like the newest one.
Okay, Evil Dead Rise was a super successful movie.
Yeah.
Made over however million, whatever.
Well, if we're gonna
Where do we go from here?
well, not okay. So I'm not want to like touch any spoilers on Rise for anyone who
yeah,
may have not seen it.
Okay, so
But the way that it ends, right? So the way that Rise ends, let's say Bruce Campbell is just chilling in that area somewhere.
he just shows up.
Not like to just fight the Deadite or something, right?
Okay.
So you know how like the beginning is actually the end?
What city does Rise take place in?
I don't know. And that's not really a spoiler because it just tells you anyway in the beginning.
I'm
Days
gonna
later.
I'm gonna look that up.
But let's say at the end of the movie, like, how the person rises, right? You know what I'm saying?
What is it? I'm sorry.
Like how in the end, like the person who is a Deadite rises from the water, right?
Okay. Yes.
So let's just say like around that area, Bruce is kind of just doing, Bruce, aka Ash, he's just kind of doing his own thing. He's just vibing in like a bar or something, being Ash,
Right.
being dumb. Maybe he's in S-Mart, Maybe he's just chilling in S-Mart. Maybe he still works at S-Mart, dude. Maybe there's an S-Mart right
Could
there.
you
And that's
imagine
the
if
one he works
that's
at.
what it is?
And the Deadite just comes in there to wreak some havoc and kill some people. And then that's how you introduce Bruce coming back into the picture.
Right.
I would just really love, like, if we're talking in later movies, I really want Bruce back. I want Ash back into the franchise.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to scrap the new girl, Beth, because Beth was awesome. But again, the 2013 one, I hear a lot of people say that she was awesome too. That's why if we could somehow fit all three into the franchise, that'd be awesome. But if we can only pick one, I'd love for Ash to come back. And I feel like that'd be such a subtle way to do it.
So if you only could pick one protagonist, you'd want Ash back.
I want Ash back probably. But I mean, this isn't fair though because we haven't seen the 2013 one.
Honestly,
But
if I were to pick a sequel, I wouldn't want a direct sequel to Rise. I want Beth back.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I want the more like horror-esque, like what Rise gave us. I want more of that.
Oh.
But at the same time, I would love that with a mixture of Ash in there.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
My biggest fear is you can't have Ash in the movie and
For it
it
to
be
be
a
scary.
horror movie.
Yeah.
Because he
What
has
if-
ran the gauntlet.
What if you do like two split stories though? What if we follow
Like they're
Beth?
separated.
Yeah, like we follow Beth and it's more horror-esque, but then you just have Ash over here just bonking everything that comes at him. Yeah,
I would love that.
And
but
like, what if
I feel like that would
What if-
breed a
What if they're both trying to find the book? And then we have like two separate stories. And like the one is more horror-esque, obviously Beth, and then you have Ash being Ash, and then they combine, they get the book, and they kind of have a confrontation, and then they're like, well, we both want to stop this thing. Bam. You have a final fight together against the Deadites. Now, people are probably like, that sounds trash, but like theoretically, if done perfectly, it would be fun.
I definitely understand where you're coming from, and I don't think it sounds trash. I think that's a good concept, but to me, that sounds like two movies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it kind of is. Cause
You know
like,
what I mean?
Well, it'd be like one of those things where like you'd have one movie, then it would end with them getting to the book, and then you'd have the other movie with your other protagonist getting to the book, and then it would have like that end credit scene where they collab.
Well, here's the best way I would do it. I wouldn't even if that was how you wanted to do it. I would say the next movie is Bruce Campbell. He's going for the book. Maybe all this and that. He finds whatever he's looking for. He finds out, hey, there's some crazy stuff that happened in L.A. It's L.A. by the way. I'm gonna go and get back to get that book. Who's there but Beth?
Yeah.
That's the end of that movie.
Well, maybe it'd be so funny if like he was going like you get that introduction right, maybe, and then he's like going to L.A., going to the apartment to see what's going on, and then like how like the way she gets out, right? Like don't want to say it, but the way she gets out, it's just like she leaves and then he just like runs into him, and he's just like, "Who are you? What's going on over here?" Yeah, he's just like,
yeah. I mean, what the fuck? Do you think he has to have open carry for that?
I don't think he cares.
I don't think he does either.
I don't know. I don't think he really like. I'm sure he.
Well, he's got the robot hand now. If he
Yeah, I gotta say, in the store at the end of this movie, he wasn't even wearing the chainsaw. He was just wearing the hand.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, so sad. Just not as cool.
Not as cool as the chainsaw.
I would love to have interchangeable hands, though. That would be cool. I wish it got these bad boys, though.
Yeah, these worthless fingies.
So, okay. I think I fall in line with you in a lot of ways. Like, if I had to, like, as I said, if I had to pick a specific sequel, I couldn't have it both ways. Like, or, maybe not the Dream sequel. I would have to probably forego anything else to get more of Beth.
Beth and Rise.
Because I think ideally the move forward is how does she, we see. I think this movie is more of Evil Dead 2 than Evil Dead 1 as far as Beth being a competent character.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but in comparison, I would like to see the Evil Dead 1 to Evil Dead 2 treatment for Rise to its sequel.
Yeah.
I want to see how Beth has prepared herself.
Yeah, like I said, I think I would prefer, if I had to choose between the two, like, do I want Ash or do I want Beth? I would want more Beth. I agree. But I'm just saying, in a perfect world, if we could have both, it would be fun to, like, do a little work around there and get them working together.
You know what I'm going to say? And I think we both kind of, like, talked this out a bit.
What's that?
It's a fucking trilogy. It's ripe for it. You get Beth, Evil Dead 2. She's prepared herself in some sort of way. She's tested. She's challenged. It can still be scary because she's still not prepared for whatever kind of demon she faces the next time.
Okay.
It can still be creepy, and they can still hold on to that horror vibe. And then at the end, when she fully becomes true badassery, which she already is, but when she fully embraces it, she's killing deadites left and right.
Yeah.
Who to show up? But that's when you get Bruce Campbell. That's a cameo. Everybody knows who he is, though. Naturally, anyone watching these movies. So you get that.
She just does something cool, and then, like, I don't know, you get your cliche shot where, like, it has, like, a demon coming after her, and then she, like, shoots it in the head and it has the bullet hole, and then it goes back to her looking through the bullet hole, and it's just Ash there, and he goes, groovy. Wouldn't that be
Classic.
so cool?
I would love that. And really, I think if she is badass by the end of the second movie, like full
just
blown,
full
like,
on,
prepared,
like, just killing
she's
everything.
killing them like it's nothing again, and we can accept that it's no longer a horror thing for her, then I think her and Bruce Camp or her and
that would
Ash
collab a lot better.
can work better. We need to get her to where she can.
Yeah, just like Ash. Even though the first movie wasn't that well done for the horror aspect, I feel like it still was the thing where, like, Ash was scared. He was like, oh God, what's happening?
Right.
And then the second one, he became a little bit more badass, which is where Beth is in her franchise, the second one.
Right.
And then the next one, she'd be full on, like this movie with Ash. She'd be crazy cracked. And then that's when you could combine the two, and then they'd both be crazy, and it wouldn't be a horror anymore. It would just be a slaughter fest.
Well, 2013 movie. That I don't know exactly where that girl is by the end. We know there's a girl survivor.
Yeah.
I assume she's probably same situation as Beth. She's just final girl energy, right?
Yeah.
Her and Beth, they meet up on some message board online trying to find a book to burn it down or something.
Honestly, though, like, even though we haven't watched that reboot yet, I feel like the 2013 character and Beth probably would work better.
They could work together.
Would work better than
Yes.
Ash being in it. But, like, Ash is a classic, man. I would love to see
You get
it.
these two girls girl powering out this movie. Maybe one of them doesn't
Dies.
make it.
Yeah, one of them
maybe
dies.
doesn't, and that just lends stakes to the next movie. And right at the end, you bring in Bruce Campbell, and then you set up a third movie where it really is, we're going to do this once and for all. We're going to, maybe throughout the course of the next movie, they take out a book, right?
Yep.
Or maybe even two books in the sense that, hey, we know where one is. They take that out in the beginning. They're like, okay,
We got one more.
the tape said there's 3 volumes in
Yeah.
the book. Where are the other ones? They find another one. They're like, okay, the last one is the most powerful one. It's got the ability to bring the dead forward in time or something like that. I think they could really make this a crazy trilogy and, hire me.
Wouldn't that
Hire
be
us.
funny? You just, like, with it being able to, like, fast forward, you see, like, like, Linda come back for Bruce.
Oh, my
And you
gosh.
see, like,
Linda?
the skeletons come back from this movie. Like, there's just a bunch of different Deadite enemies everywhere from the
Oh, my
past.
gosh. I would love it.
Wouldn't that be
Like,
cool?
His hand comes forward.
His hand just goes...
I would.
Imagine him just, like...
The little
sitting
guys there with the hand leading them.
The hand just jumps out of nowhere and then just, like, lands on his face, and he's like... He throws it off. He's like, you again.
I would love this. This is a movie I want to see. And like just all of this, I think we've got a pretty good lineup for the next two movies.
But it's so funny because like even if you're like these guys' ideas are stupid, it fits so well in the franchise though. Like you can't do anything with this franchise that wouldn't make sense. Oh yeah, right.
You can do anything.
Yeah,
you can do anything.
You can do anything and it would make sense. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Because like every movie, every movie, it doesn't matter. There is something different about each one of them, and you're like, huh? But you just go with it. You ride with it, and it's fun.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think anyone takes Evil Dead seriously to the point where they're like, oh, this isn't Evil Dead. It's like, cool, some crazy shit's happening, some crazy shit's happening, some crazy happening. You're just like, cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see where we go. I know that we're definitely getting something after Rise. There's no way we're not.
Oh no, the director, I think it's Lee Cronin.
Mm-hmm.
I follow him on Twitter now, and he has been like fully embracing the idea of like, hey, you know, what would you guys want to see in a sequel?
Yeah.
You know, more Rise, you know, with Beth or something
More
different, something like anything. And like, I'm really curious. And then of course, you know, Bruce Campbell,
him saying that he
like,
wants to come back as Ash,
where he's saying like, yeah, I'm starting to miss him too, guys. Like, I would love that. That is great.
I guess we'll see where we go from here.
With that being said, Popcorn episode 16 for you.
This is it for Evil Dead franchise for now.
For now.
We will watch the very last one, the 2013 reboot around Halloween.
Subscribe. Stick around for that. It'll be in October-ish, somewhere in that time frame. We lean horror with our stuff anyway. So
I mean, soon we'll be leading into your movies, which is your Indiana Jones movies.
Leading up to Indy 5, we're going to be doing the Indy quadrilogy.
I would say most of our movie covers are mostly horror. I mean, for me that's cool. So
I'm down. There's definitely some that I've just never seen that I like too. There's some that haven't gelled so far. That's okay.
I got a lot of my backlog to show you, so we chilling whenever we need movies.
I'm down. But if you cannot wait to see more Evil Dead content, we've got Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and Rise. So,
and if you want to see the 2013 reaction,
October. We got Scream, entire franchise done in the can.
Yep.
And that's it for us.
Yeah.
The back door.